Hey everyone, it's John here from Hot Take Hockey, back with another video. And today's video is going to be on Torey Krug and 7 potential destinations for him in free agency. So if you are here, please do subscribe, smash that like button, and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. So for Torey Krug, he has been so consistent over his career. Left shot defenseman. He's going to be 29 going into next season. And if you're talking about Krug and his interest, I think he does want to return to Boston. Obviously, the Bruins do want to keep him, but it's going to come down to money. And I think obviously, I think the Bruins would be comfortable with giving him, whether it's 6, 7, 8. I mean, 8 years would be a lot. I'm not sure if the Bruins want to do that, but I think it does come down to money. Like, I think they would possibly consider the 8-year term if the money did come down. And I think for Torey Krug, a quote came out and him talking about him possibly thinking about a pay cut and that his family could discuss that, but just how much of a pay cut. So for me and my opinion, I think Torey Krug could demand up to $8 million per. I mean, if you're looking at Jacob Trouba, who, yes, is a lot younger, but hasn't really had a whole bunch of great years. He had one great year leading up to that contract he signed with the Rangers. He got 7 per. And if you're looking at, other defensemen in the open market, yes, Torey Krug is not to the level of Erik Karlsson and what he's done. Erik Karlsson obviously got 11. And if we're talking about Pietrangelo getting up there, Torey Krug's the next guy there. And I think in the open market and for a team that has that space, he could demand in around $8 million. So is that pay cut cutting down to $7 million for the Boston Bruins for Torey Krug, or is that even less? Would they even go to $7 million? So I think that's the big question mark, but I do think the Bruins are one of 7 potential landing spots. Obviously, any team that has that player, the returning team is a possibility. So I think for the Boston Bruins, they could land Torey Krug and still keep him, and obviously they have made moves that I would say protect them for future moves, whether that was the Brendan Carlo contract or the Charlie McAvoy. Like, with other teams, those 2 players could have got a lot more potentially. So, but let's talk about some other teams outside of the Bruins. So the 6 other teams I think could be in contention for Torey Krug in free agency, and that's starting with the Red Wings. So right now, if we're talking about us being in the break, isolation, Torey Krug is in Michigan. So we're talking about him potentially going home maybe, but we're going from the Bruins being a Stanley Cup contender to the Red Wings to one of the worst teams in the league. So, if not the worst. So I think there's a potential where he could go to the Red Wings, partner up with Danny DeKeyser, and help Stevie Y grow something in Detroit and be that number 1 defenseman. And you know what? Torey Krug has proven to be one of the better defensemen, if not the best defenseman or most consistent defenseman for the Bruins. I mean, obviously McAvoy's jumped on the scene. Chara's done what he's done in terms of leadership and just been that steady guy on the back end. Carlo's been great, but Krug offensively and what Krug's done with the Boston Bruins, and even his defensive numbers are pretty underrated. Krug's been great, so he could be that leader for the Red Wings. I think the Habs are definitely in contention for Torey Krug. If you're talking about Pietrangelo, I think that's just too much of a price. You're already looking at the contract of Weber. I don't think you want 2 contracts like that. On top of the Habs are more, I would say, set on that right side in terms of defense. So I do think Torey Krug, that left shot defenseman, could be a fit, maybe partnering up with Shea Weber. So I could see the potential there. I think the Golden Knights could be potential for Torey Krug. Again, if they missed out on a guy like Pietrangelo, maybe they take the cheaper option, and it's not that much cheaper. But look at a guy like Torey Krug, again, they would have to make a move or 2 to create that cap space. The New York Rangers, I actually think this is a hot take, but right when I saw the New York Rangers trade Brady Shea, I was looking already into the following year, and I'm like, okay, maybe the Rangers need to add someone on that left side. You're talking about Fox on that right side, D'Angelo, who they need to re-sign on that right side, and obviously Jacob Trouba. That left side, it's kind of thin. Mark Stahl and Brendan Smith, they're getting older. Brendan Smith barely played on the defense. And Lindgren's there as well. Like I said, Shea got traded to the Hurricanes, so maybe Torey Krug could be a guy that you bring in and partner up with Jacob Trouba. I could see the potential there. Again, the Rangers would have to make moves. They have to sign a guy like Strome as well. Other guys they have to sign, so moves have to be made, and obviously the goaltending situation with the Rangers. But I do think Torey Krug could be a fit for the New York Rangers. The Winnipeg Jets. So I think the Jets are going to be signing one big defenseman this offseason. When free agency comes, I could see them, whether it's Torey Krug, Pietrangelo, Tyson Barrie, Travis Hamonic, there's a bunch out there. The Winnipeg Jets are going to sign one of them. There's only so many teams that can sign defensemen, and there's actually a good crop of defensemen in this free agent market. So I do see the Winnipeg Jets signing one of them, so they could go after a guy like Torey Krug and hand him out a paycheck. And my final team is the Florida Panthers. There has been some rumors around the Florida Panthers going around a big fish for a defenseman, and I think, if you've looked at the past, former Bruins have gone to the Panthers. Sean Thornton went to the Panthers after playing with the Bruins for a long time. Noel Acciari, look at the time he spent with the Bruins, and then now he's a Florida Panther. So whether it's a good word or just looking at what's happened, Torey Krug could look at that, go to a nice spot in Florida. Yeah, obviously it's a lot more low-key. You're not getting a lot of fans in that building, but Torey Krug could maybe get a good situation. I think the Florida Panthers, we'll see what happens, but if the season doesn't continue and the Florida Panthers are not in the playoffs for another year, I think the Panthers are going to have a very busy offseason. They're going to make moves. So I could see Torey Krug being an option. So my top 7 for Torey Krug: Bruins, Red Wings, Habs, Golden Knights, Rangers, Jets, and Panthers. Let me know which team you think Torey Krug is going to go to. I think Torey Krug is going to be sought after big time. After Pietrangelo, he's the next best guy in my opinion, and he's been very reliable, very consistent for the Bruins, and I think he will. If I had to predict, I think it's more likely he returns to the Bruins, but I do think there is that potential where the Bruins can't get to a certain price point and Krug looks elsewhere. So thank you for watching. This was John from Hot Take Hockey. Have a good one. Peace out.